Stay with me as we take a tour around Mount Washington, the highest point on the East Coast. You see the whole cool weather station behind me. Mount Washington is located in New Hampshire in the White Mountains. It's the highest peak on the East Coast, and it is famous for having the highest wind speeds ever recorded. On April 12th, 1934, an amazing 231 miles per hour. That's higher than any wind speed on Earth, unless you're talking about like tornadoes or hurricanes. I went to this September last year, so it's taken me a year to get this up, sorry. But I was lucky enough to go on the Cog line, and you start off at the basin here, and you can kind of see the train tracks running up the hill here to the right, and then it goes up into the mountains. I'm lucky enough to ride the Mount Washington Cog Rail up to the highest peak. So because of that, it's such a steep ride, they had to invent a cogwheel system on a train, which you can get a little idea from this demonstration here. They actually have a wheel on the engine that fits into the track that has cogs. So this big sprocket rolls on this track, the teeth catch in, and it helps it so it doesn't slide back down the mountain. See, this guy, Sylvester Marsh, back in 1855, decided he wanted to build a railway to the top, and everybody thought it was ridiculous, so he had to develop the technology to do this. They have a nice museum in the basin while you wait for the train to arrive, and you can see that they had to develop an engine that was at a 30-degree slant that could handle that climb, and they got a lot of the old stuff from the original signs up, and here's one of the old original engines, and this is steam powered, where you had to shovel the coal in and everything. You get an idea how big it was and what a work of engineering that must have been way back in 1855 to even get this thing off the ground. So they had to completely redesign a steam engine and tilt it so it was at a 37-degree angle and the water wouldn't spill out of the tank. Also, here's some pictures of how they actually got up and down and worked on it. They had this rail they laid out, and they called it the devil's shingle here, and the workers would actually ride the thing down on these little skid pads, I guess. And here's a picture of that. They would get on this thing and just ride on down, because you got to remember, this is one of the worst weather environments on Earth, so it's really difficult to work and build this thing, especially back in the 1800s. The railway also crosses the Appalachian Trail, and if you don't know what that is, it's a trail that runs all the way up the east coast of the United States, and it crosses over right there. So I saw a ton of hikers on the top who go there and just use it, I guess, as a stop to refresh, get a little food, and then go back down and hike on. Now, if you get there early enough, you can actually get the old school coal-driven engine, where there's a big lump of coal that they load this thing and they run an old engine down the track, and I'll show you that one that's coming in. There's multiple trains that go up the railway, but if you get there first thing in the morning, you can actually ride the old school coal one. And they load it with coal. It's a steam engine, and you can watch it coming up and down the tracks. I made it there too late, so I rode the diesel one next. Here you can see what I'm talking about better, where the engine's actually at this 37-degree angle. So when it goes up the hill, it's level and the water and steam works. They also have display on pepper sass, which is the first engine that actually hauled stuff up to build the railway. The museum also has other engines on display that used to run. Now, I took the diesel engine, and part of that is because I was lazy and didn't get up early enough to catch the coal-driven one. But also, people forget the coal-driven one's very dirty. You're getting a lot of smoke while you're going up the hill, and it seems romantic, but it's really dirty. From here, you can kind of get a better idea of where the track's going to go. It runs all the way up the mountain, up to that little tower there. That's the observation tower, the weather station, I should say. Sorry, it's a weather station. You'll see that in another upcoming clip, and that's where we'll actually be coming up. So hopefully you get a little idea how far we're going. When you actually enter the boxcar, you get a good idea how ornate and beautiful the woodwork used to be. And since this is September, it's unseasonably warm. Normally this would be a freezing trip, but people, bring their sweatshirts. So I'm going to let the conductor talk.
Here's a neat picture. This is the Ammonoosuc River. It's born in the highest elevation bodies of water in the east of the Mississippi River. The Lakes of the Clouds sit right in between Mount Washington and Mount Monroe. And there's a hut up there. It's called the Lakes of the Clouds Hut. It's right on the Appalachian hiking trail. You can only get there by hiking. It's a pretty cool picture seeing that building sitting up on the mountain. There's a couple of views of it. I'll make sure.
Here you can see the cog track. You can see the little tongue and groove that the cog wheel fits into. Let me show you better.
And being
you can also see where the steam engine has to stop and refill its water in these little water towers here. But there's an original one. Take a look. There's also a face in the rocks there. You can see it up against the white. A spirit, a rock spirit. Man of the mountain come back. The steepest part of the ride is called Jacob's Ladder, and it is 37 degrees, and people actually stand up so they can feel yourself leaning. You try to hold up. You can see this better kind of as I swing the camera around. Look at the angle of the trees and stuff outside and how everybody in the back of the cart is lower than the front of the car.
all the way down to the left, you'll see the ridge line of Mount Washington going all the way down to the Great Gulf Ravine. That's a killer view. Look at the rain. It can be brutal up here. A lot of windy days, a lot of really cold days, especially this time of year too. This is pretty unseasonably warm weather. You can see I have a t-shirt on. I don't have goosebumps. It is awesome up here today. You guys are going to enjoy it.
As you get out and you look around the state park, you're really treated to magnificent views every direction. But here you can see the people catching the same train I rode back down and going down that steep drop. There it is. But if you just take a look around, there's signs everywhere that kind of tell you what you're looking at. It's beautiful.
MacLeod. That guy. It's not a very good picture there.
Those are the presidential mountains, which the Appalachian Trail goes to, and you'll see hikers heading off that direction. Here you can see another train coming up, but you can also see the road behind it. And for y'all that don't know, you can drive up the road to Mount Washington only certain times of the year. It's kind of dangerous because it's so windy. They shut the road down a lot. So it's always a pop shoot, a luck shoot if you're going to see Mount Washington or not. One of the things Mount Washington does now and is famous for is its weather station. It monitors, and it also has an amazing view of the area to watch the weather as well. And you can get on their website and it'll give you live weather updates of that area. And there's the tower I mentioned in the very beginning. I was like, hey, we're going up to see, you'll see that tower. That's a weather station tower. And you can get an idea that we're actually higher than the clouds sometimes. You'll also notice it's so high that trees don't grow up here. It just looks like the moon. So behind me you can see some of the weather station This is the highest weather station around, and the weather gets completely nuts up here. So in the winter, this place is closed to the public, and some poor schmuck has to come out and take readings at the top of here. Every few hours, they have to go knock the ice and snow off the equipment, I guess. And I guess it's like the rookie guy that whoever's the newest guy has to go do it. It sounds pretty rough and miserable, but it's a beautiful day here, and it's super rare that in September this would be out like this. But you can see some stuff behind me here. It's really quite pretty. You can see the tracks we came, and then they just kind of disappear down the hill. These are the Presidential Mountains right here, and you can see some of the hikers are very much into them. You'll see people taking a picture at the highest point there. They're standing there and taking a picture on the top of those rocks. That's the highest point you can get a picture on the East Coast. Here's a sign for the tourists to take a picture with, where the trails come together at the highest point there. And what's really neat is these original buildings that are built with rocks. You know, they didn't really have access to wood easily, and trees, but look how thick that is. And here's some poor schmuck out there working on the tower. Imagine doing that with wind and ice and hail. Poor guy. And here's a really cool survey disc, an original survey disc. Pretty neat. If you need a break from the outdoor elements, you can hide out inside and get a hot meal or pick up some tchotchkes. And I saw a lot of Appalachian hikers eating lunch here. I then took a tour of the Tip Top House, which was kind of like the original place where the first people coming up stayed. This house was where the original hikers and people that would come up here building it would stay, so they've created a museum and left it like it was pretty much. You see the wood stove, and I'm going to go around the corner here, and you'll actually see the bunks. These are the original bunks that these people would sleep in, and here's kind of what they look like. There wasn't a lot to them. You know, a blanket and a board, and I assume there was some sort of hay mattress or something back then. But you'd see that they're stacked on each other, and then they had a central dining area. And that was about it. So I decided to go back out and look around and try to find Canada. I'm told on nice clear days that you could see Canada. I'm told somewhere over here is Canada. So I'm looking for the mountain with the maple leaf that's emblazed on it, and some big hockey sticks sticking up, and the mountain should be wearing a toque. Where are you, Canada? There are a few other buildings you can go in and explore. I believe they have more souvenir shops and stuff like that. And there you can kind of see the parking lot where people drive in and park and come up. So you got to be ready to hike around if you're driving in. I got involved in sightseeing so much I almost missed my train going back.
My name is Tom, and I'm your brakeman for the ride down. Our engineer is Steve. We're both very pleased to have you board our train this afternoon. Just need to let you know about one thing that's different from about the ride down from the ride up. Coming up, we let you get up and move around the train, but that doesn't work so well going down the mountain because of the downward momentum. If the train should have to stop short for any reason, you might come flying down the aisle here. Somebody's likely to get hurt. So we ask for safety reasons that you remain at your seats. You're welcome to stand at your seats if you like, but please don't enter or move through the aisles. And I don't do a whole lot of talking on the way down. Look at these rusty on the way up, because you got a lot of information on the way up. I prefer.
On the way back down, it definitely moves faster, and you got a little momentum going. But what I was trying to find was where the tree line was. All of a sudden, you go from it looking like the surface of the moon to trees and stuff starting to come up and greenery. And it starts with the shrubs, but what happened was there was a avalanche apparently that knocked a bunch of trees down, so I couldn't really find the tree line very well until I was almost at the bottom. And to show you the angle, look at this house on the side. It shows you the angle of how steep the train's going. You know, that house is level, and that was it. So anyway, I get to the bottom and check out the old coal train is still cooling down, and they're reloading the coal. Is pretty neat. All in all, the trip's worth going on. Definitely once in your life. It's really neat to ride a cog train. It's definitely an experience if you're a train fanatic. Here is outside of the town. There's a little town called Bethlehem that has all this cool steel artwork, which I've done a video about. If you want to click a link, you'll see it appear. You can always check that out. So as far as the price goes, I do know the steam engine, the coal trip's more expensive. I think it's over $100 a seat, but I'd have to go look again. The diesel's much more affordable, and it's still a fun ride though to go. So if you get a chance, go check it out. Again, it's a something to do on your bucket list. I would definitely check it out. And you know, and if you like artwork, swing by this place in Bethlehem. It was really neat. Also, feel free to check out all my New Hampshire series. I've got like 20-something videos on New Hampshire tourism of different things I found New Hampshire I enjoy. So check out that playlist. Remember, you can find me on all these alternative platforms if you don't care for YouTube. But the best way to keep up with me is to go up to my website and sign up for a newsletter. I don't spam you or anything. I just let you know when I actually have new stories up. And also, when you sign up, you get access to unlisted videos that you really can't find anywhere else. Currently, I have videos on, I believe, making mead, which is honey wine, and carnivorous plants. So check out that. Just go over there and sign up. Lastly, please remember that if you're going to shop on Amazon, I'd really appreciate you going through my link. It does help the channel a lot. Ever since YouTube dropped the bomb and took a bunch of money away from us advertisers, it's getting hard to make a living at this. So I'd appreciate it if you swing over to Amazon. Thank you so much. As always, be nice to that cat.